Hello and welcome to the Fire Breathing Kittens podcast, a TTRPG podcast with a twist. Different characters playing each week, different systems each week, different stories each week. You want to try a new system? Have a look down our episodes, right there, just have a little scroll. We may well have one that you're into. And of course, if you are yourself an indie TTRPG designer and want us to play your system, feel free to email us at firebreathingkittenspodcast@gmail.com and I'm sure we can sort something out. Speaking of weird new systems, though, this week we are playing Dicing with Death. Ooh, spooky. Now, Dicing with Death is a fiction-first, dice-based TTRPG that exclusively uses D6s. Challenges are overcome by contested rolls against the GM, who takes the role of death itself. You will always find yourself at a disadvantage, having to use your wits and guile to survive, risking your own safety and the safety of your party to defy the odds and weave your own tale. So basically, it's a fiction-first, improv-heavy system, and the rules are more like guidelines. The aim of the game is basically just to have fun and tell a good story, but I should probably tell you how roles work, just so you understand what's going on here. So, as I said, we only roll d6s, so each roll is against me, the GM, i.e. death. I basically say how many dice I'm going to roll, like, say, 2d6, 3d6, what have you, and then what will happen if the player wins the roll, and what happens if I win the roll. The player then tries to negotiate some more dice for themselves through various different things we'll get into a bit later on. Once we're all agreed on dice rolls and the consequences of, then we roll. And then simply put, the highest number wins. So if my highest roll is a 6 and theirs is a 5, I win. If our highest roll is the same, then we move on to the next highest. So say if I roll a 5 and a 3, and then the player rolls a 5 and a 5, they win because, 5 beats 3. The consequences happen, and then we move on with our lives. That's the basic gist of it. That's the important stuff out of the way. We'll get on to any other mechanics a bit later when they come up. So, this will be the first ever live playtest of a TTRPG. I've not checked that fact. It may be wrong. Maybe right. Who knows? Anyway, I think I've probably talked enough. And it is about time we introduce our characters for this episode. Now, this is actually one of our famous companion episodes, so next week's episode will also be Dicing with Death, following the same kind of basic story premise, but with completely different characters, and trust me, it will be wildly different to what's going to happen in this episode. So, without further ado, this week's characters are Maeve.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Maeve. I'm not actually going to be talking in French the whole time. Maeve is a fire genasi. She is a young adult, so 20-ish. She is 6 foot tall, though that kind of grows when she's angry. Her hair is made of flames, and that changed color depending on how angry she is, or if she ate some specific elements. Her skin looks like lava rock cooling and cracking all over, and it gets really red hot white as she gets angry. Her eyes are kind of hard to stare at because they're very similar to the fire burning in a star. She wears pirate clothes, so like a billowy shirt and leather corset, and she's very excited to be here.
Next up, we have Bartholomew.
Well, hello there. I'm Bartholomew. I'm a 6'2" human man with auburn hair, white skin, and blue eyes. I'm wearing a green regimental coat with beige facings, beige breeches, and a black tricorn hat. One thing I'd like to do before the beginning of every episode is I'd like to recite one of the poems I've written. I write poetry, but I'm also a calligrapher. But I write my own magazines, I write poetry, current events, and I actually make crossword puzzles and put them on the backs of my magazines. That's how I make my money. But I do have a poem I'd like to read. Of the road to Summerfell. The winding path through timbered ridge leads to Summerfell. Manor daunting, always taunting, undead, shrieking hell. Traveler beware, the manor condemned of horrors unexplained. Turn away, go astray, either do you well.
Hang on, I think we should...
Thank you.
I wasn't sure if I should clap for my
That's
mic.
very good.
I never know when these things end. Then last up, we have Armando.
Yes, hello. My name is Armando Contenza Villano de Medici. I am a human being. I'm a 6'2", at 31 years old. I have dark brown hair. It looks almost black, but it is dark brown. My eyes are amber, and they're very light, but sometimes it is off-putting when I look at people, but I think it's a good color. Let's see. I am wearing a simple tunic. I am what you call a mercenary sword fighter. So, I wear clothing appropriate to that. Nothing too tight, nothing too loose. I can move, but I still look, I am dressed. I'm decent, And last but not least, I have a very manly mustache on my face, very big, very intimidating. So that is everything.
Boy, I wish subtitles were in audio.
What are you talking about?
I'll tell you later.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Well, that's our characters introduced. Those are the ones who will be risking life, limb, and a third thing beginning with L this episode. So let's dive right in. So, the three of you wake up. This is nothing unusual, of course. You wake up every single day. Sometimes twice in a day if you've had a bit too much. You know what I'm saying.
I've heard stories. I have read it in books.
What's unusual about this particular waking up is that you all appear to be in some sort of waiting room. You know, the sort of room you sit in just to wait for like an appointment or something. But this room is a magical sort of room, so it looks different to each one of you. It's designed to play on your memories and your senses to make you feel at ease. So, what do you think this particular waiting room would look like for each of you? You're all in the same space, it just looks wildly different to each person.
Well, for Bartholomew, myself, it reminds me of, the waiting room at home. My mother's a surgeon, and there's a waiting room, in my house. So I'd actually imagine waking up in my house or something similar to my house. Very reminiscent of home. And I wouldn't immediately be alarmed because it's so recognizable, so familiar. But then I would realize that the familiarity is rather out of place because I'm not at home. I'm around the Fire-Breathing Kittens Guild in Dickamoy. I'd be put off guard a bit, maybe wondering, is this some waiting room here in Dickamoy that just reminds me of home? How did I get here?
For Maeve, it is kind of appearing very opulent, very like aspen trees filled with golden veins, I guess. And it reminds her of her former job working for Echo Wood White and Sundew Gold Leaf. She spent a lot of time in their kind of waiting, receiving room, helping them manage people. So she is very much so like, really? I have to do this again? Okay.
I think for me, what you need to understand about me is I am a very accomplished sword fighter. And so that sometimes, as a mercenary, I can get into trouble because the police, they do not know, the town guard, they do not understand that I have the appropriate permit to take out the bad guys. But so I think the waiting room looks a lot like a processing facility in a prison. Like I have been arrested and I am on a bench. And I'm just waiting for the misunderstanding to be cleared up. And I'm comfortable. This is not my first rodeo, as you say. But I am sitting, I'm at peace. And I know this is all going to get cleared up very soon.
Well, funny you should say that, because there is, as you will wake up and kind of get your wits about you a bit more, you'll see in this room, the one thing which is common to each one of you is that there does seem to be some door on one of those walls, or in the case of Maeve, a door in a tree, I guess. Above it is a number. It doesn't matter what number. Let's say 12. It just seems to be glowing above the door. And let's say you've got a bit of time to hang out and try and figure out what's going on. This is the role play bit, folks.
All right.
You can talk to each other and be characters for a bit before we get into the dice rolly part.
Thank you for your permission, GM. I think we can figure it out, but thank you. Appreciate it. So, hey, you two, why are you here in prison What are you arrested for?
GM, I have a question. Are we all together? Do we all see different things, or is it sort of a mix of all three of our descriptions?
No, it's very strange and magical. Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah. So effectively, you all imagine yourselves all waking up, kind of lying on the floor next to each other. So you can see each other, you can interact with each other, but the surroundings to each person looks completely different.
I see.
That is why I asked the question. Why are you in prison? Because I see a prison, and so I see you too also, and I think you are in a prison with me. But not like in the prison like we're being processed.
Got it.
So clearly you have done something they suspect is wrong, but it is not totally wrong.
I see. Wait, you said a prison? This doesn't seem like a prison. It seems very homely. I've never been in a prison. I guess prisons aren't as bad as I thought they'd be. Nice to meet you. I'm Bartholomew.
Bartholomew, that is a very manly name. I appreciate it. My name is Armando Contenda Vilano de Medici. A pleasure to meet you.
Armando, nice to meet you.
Yes, that will do.
This is not a prison. This is the waiting room for Sire Golif. I don't know why I am back here. I suppose I could have perhaps been, if this is a prison, arrested with the crew, but I left the crew a long time ago.
You are part of a crew?
Yes, the pirate ship, for such a long time.
Bartholomew shields his eyes with his hand. Is like, oh, it's so bright. It's very hard to have a conversation with you and speak to you directly because your eyes are so bright. It's like the sun.
Yes, I am looking for a pretty hat to assist with this. However, it looks like I was not that successful considering. I am here with you, and unless you have a pretty hat to sell.
Well, I have my hat, but I need it. He kind of looks at his hat. I don't need it, but it is a part of my identity. I couldn't imagine myself without it. Maybe we could find a hat for you at some point.
We can find a hat. I mean, I have no hat. It is a hindrance in my line of work, but I think we can find a hat for you.
Sky high stakes this week, folks. We're trying to find a hat.
You don't know what kind of hat it is. It could be like a spectacular hat.
Okay, I'll make a note. Hat.
A spectacular. I mean, like the best hat you ever see in your life.
Throw away all the plans. Hat.
Let me just delete everything I've got.
What?
Hat.
But that is only what she is after. No, what about Bartholomew? Maybe he is trying to get reunited with somebody or take vengeance on somebody or something.
Are you Bartholomew?
Oh, my story is quite sad, actually. I'm looking to end the curse on my hometown. It's overplayed by these zombies, this zombie curse coming from Summerfell. Well, I've mentioned it a bit in the poetry I read earlier today. Very unfortunate events. I'm trying to end this. I have a year to do so. For once a year, the zombies will come and destroy our town. They attack once a year and they get stronger every year, so it's projected that in a year it'll be over for us and spill into other towns, neighboring towns like Shelton.
I have to say, I did enjoy your poetry, and usually I do not enjoy art as much. But I thought it was a metaphor. Like, it was very beautiful. But now that I know it is quite literally zombies, I am interested in helping you. I'm a very capable sword fighter.
Yes, the road to Summerfell. Summerfell is the name of the manor where the zombies originate from. Summerfell belonged to an aristocratic family that lorded over our little town of Pindrake 100 years ago, and we fought for liberation until during the battle when victory was at hand, a cataclysm shook the manor and everyone there vanished. And ever since then, zombies have been coming from the manor. Anyone that goes to investigate vanishes.
That sounds like quite an adventure. I would like to be a part of that. So I put that on my calendar for you, and we go together.
I could use all the help. That's why I came here to Nicomoy, to look for help and to hopefully finding a cure to the curse comes before recruiting a bunch of innocent lives to fight against this zombie apocalypse.
Please, nobody is innocent.
Are we still in the Nikamoy? This does not necessarily look like where I laid to rest. Usually I sleep in the rafters of the guild hall, but I see no rafters. I see no guild hall, and more importantly, I see no liquor.
What is liqueur?
The what do you call it? The beer?
Oh.
The hard stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like for drinking?
Well, the hardest
Okay.
stuff I drink is coffee, but that's another story.
Oh, darling, you must allow me to educate you on the finer points of pirate life.
Armando.
Oh, I don't like that.
That sounds like a signal from the GM, like we need to keep going or something, like we have done talking at this point of the game. Hey, are there 12 bongs coming? Because if so, we go through that door with the 12 on it.
Well, no. At those bongs, funnily enough, at those bongs, the number on the door changes from 12 to 13, and the door opens inwards to reveal. Well, you don't actually see anything. It's just kind of bright light on the other side, and there's a voice which comes from it saying, Maeve, Armando, Bartholomew, enter.
Maeve's already going through the door. She's like, this is what we are supposed to do? Okay.
To me, it looked like freedom. So, I happily go out the door.
I'll follow the two of you.
Through the other side of this door, you all now see the same thing now. So gone are the comforting surroundings of your home, your old workplace or prison. You now all stand in what effectively looks like an office, but with quite a lot of skull decor. And there's a desk right in the middle of it with a hooded being kind of tip-tapping on some slates and kind of scratching with a finger into them to kind of start making notes.
Well, this, sir... Ooh, we're British there.
Don't worry about it. Accents go strange in this room. Trust me.
What
That is
is...
a very forgiving voice. I don't know this voice, but it's very friendly.
what is the meaning of this? I need a pretty hat and I would like to go shopping. Who are you?
I see someone's still in the first stage. Please, the three of you, take a seat. And suddenly 3 comfortable chairs appear in front of the desk.
That's convenient, thank you.
So describe this chair, because what is comfortable for maybe Bartholomew is not comfortable for me. Can you please tell me a little bit more about this chair?
Well, what's comfortable for you, Armando?
I have a very Spartan life. Like, a soft chair is not on my radar. That is like more opulent than I'm used to. Sometimes I like to go camping. That is like where I live. So a hard wooden chair is all I need.
And a hard wooden chair appears for you.
Oh, it's perfect. That's a chair right for me. I sit in the chair.
Once you've all sat down, taken your seats, the hooded being, it's all in a big black robe. The hood is right up. You can't see past the hood. You all sat down and the being stops tip-tapping away on the slates and kind of sits and raises their head and looks at you. You still can't see past the hood despite the fact they're staring straight at you. It just seems to be a void in there. And the being says, Maeve, Armando, Bartholomew. Sorry, as I said, accents go strange in this place. I am death. Or it may be more accurate to say I am a small facet of the Great One's being that deals with incoming souls to what you understand to be the afterlife.
Wait, I died? Wait, how?
Let's not jump to conclusions. Maybe we are not dead. If we were dead, we would not be sitting in a comfortable chair.
Bartholomew looks like he's about to have a panic attack. And hearing Armando put his hand on his shoulder, reassuring, he's like, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it would be very, very different.
This must be some misunderstanding or someone playing a joke on us. I understand.
If we were dead. That means I can do this. And she snaps her fingers and she's thinking very hard. Pretty hat, pretty hat, pretty hat.
Well, you know what? This is a perfect time to introduce the concept of challenges. Usually how challenges work is, as I said, I set the difficulty, so I'll say what I'm going to roll, and then we figure out what the player is going to roll. There is a very special type of roll called a luck roll, which is not based on any of the things you would normally add dice to. So your traits, which we'll come into later, circumstances and context, which we'll come into later, or even bargaining, which again, we'll come to later. There's this special one called luck, which is something that doesn't rely on any of that, and it's just we'll see. So in this case, both I and Maeve will each roll 1d6, and basically whoever gets the highest roll wins. If we draw, we roll again, and we keep going until there's a winner. So, put simply, if you win on this one, Maeve, then a nice pretty hat will appear. If I win, no hat. Very simple, very easy.
Yep.
All right,
Those
you ready?
stakes are not very bad. You have very little to lose.
Well, I don't know. This is Maeve's entire goal here, isn't it? Getting a nice pretty hat. All right, you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, roll. I rolled a 3. That's either good or bad.
Maeve rolled a 1.
Oh. So in this situation, no magical hat appears. Maeve snaps her fingers, and there does seem to be something trying to materialize, but it just seems to fizzle out and go up in a bit of a puff of smoke.
This is ridiculous. I cannot be dead because I cannot get the hat. You are a liar.
I see we have 3 people at stage 1. Denial.
Who
That's
is
okay.
denying
That's
anything? What are you talking about? I totally accept your death, and I laugh in your face. I mean, if you are even death, you are like a small banana. You are not like the top banana at all.
Maybe we should start at the beginning.
That's a good place to start.
As I mentioned, I am a small part of the entity of death, which deals with the day-to-day incoming souls to the afterlife. There are, at last count, about 2 billion of us doing the same sorts of jobs.
I have a quick question for you. So with 2 billion workers doing the same job, do you have like animal division or something like that? Or is it just people? Or like humanoid or dragon or, there's a lot of things that are alive. Plants, even, like carrots.
That's why we need 2 billion of us. There are many different afterlives.
I would like to see the carrot afterlife one day, not today, but one day. I would like to see that.
We'll put that on the maybe pile, shall we?
That's
And
fair.
Then you can see them like pretend to tap something in, but obviously yes, definitely. No.
I wrinkle my mustache. It's like I'm very irritated by this lie. It's clearly a lie, but I say nothing.
Bartholomew is a bit distressed after hearing you mention animals. Wait. Where's Alistar, my horse?
I was getting on to that, in fact. Your horse is perfectly safe, or at least last time I checked.
Wait, what? It seems that asking more questions is just producing more questions. I'll keep to myself and let you explain.
Well, the 3 of you seem to have touched on it. You, unfortunately, are all dead. Looking at your notes here, and they pull towards them a slate, the one they were tapping on. Ooh, that's nasty. It seems you were called in to clear a basement of rats, and I think one of you maybe started some sort of fire.
Maeve, you know anything about that, maybe?
Occasionally, I do not have the control of what the flame I produce, and I really, really do not like the rats. The rats are very, very bad. So I might have overreacted just a little bit.
You're passionate. That is not your fault. You cannot control how you feel.
Yes, but arguably you can control not noticing the big barrels of gunpowder in the corner.
Ah, yes. That would be me. But I don't blame you for not understanding that I carry gunpowder with me.
So I think you all understand exactly how you got here.
You know, I saw a two birds fly out of the basement, which I thought was weird. There is a saying where I am from, when you see two birds fly out of the basement, that is bad luck. And that is totally on me. I should have known that this was not something we were to be doing today.
Well, I've got good news. As part of a new system we're trialing here in the afterlife, it's a way to ease congestion. So those who have died accidentally and before what we would call a narratively appropriate time, they have the opportunity to travel back to the land of the living. But it is strictly an opt-in thing. You do have to, how you'd say, make the effort. First off, is this something you would be interested in, going back to life?
Yes, I have things to attend to, and I'd never said goodbye to Alistar. It would break my heart if I were to leave him alone. I'm not sure what. Oh no, Guvo. You remember? So last episode, the character Guvo, the frog person, was thinking of eating Alistar. He's scared. He's scared of it happening. I must get back to Alistar before Guvo realizes.
Do not say goodbye to the mount every time we adventure. Is that not standard protocol? We live very dangerous lives, no?
Oh, Alistar. Well, before we entered that house, now I remember we were going into a basement. I had left Alistar outside.
Horses can't climb stairs.
This is true.
Supposedly. I need to ask a question about your opt-in policy. Does anybody ever say no? Because if anybody dies accidentally, why would they not just say, yes, I would like to go back? Is there some kind of catch or something? I would like you to be a little bit more clear about the terms.
Well, as I say, you will need to make the effort. It is a journey back to the land of the living, and not all souls who opt into this policy are able to make it back. I have every confidence that you three will be able to, despite your issue with rats.
As long as I have full permission to kill all the rats, we shall be fine.
Oh, don't worry. Those rats were taken care of. One of my colleagues is sorting through them now. They are annoyed.
Well, mission accomplished, right? I mean, like, we cleared the basement of the rats. They are not there.
Yes, and if this was if we were all together taking care of these rats, I assume we're all a part of the fire-breathing kittens?
I am.
Yes, I joined recently. I was tired of wandering the world alone. And so, I'm just trying to learn how to interact with people.
Well, it's wonderful to meet you all again. I'm pretty sure we've made introductions, but that blast must have erased our short-term memories of each other. Yes, I am in good company if you are all part of the fire-breathing kittens.
Is Mr. Death, Sir, Your Highness, I don't know exactly what to
I wouldn't worry about it.
How do we begin?
Ah, yes. The first step is to sign this, and they kind of push over a slate, which, as you look at it, kind of words start appearing in white in very nice cursive.
Ooh.
As a sort of a contract, sort of a thing. You go, the first step is to sign this, the ancient tablet of Mulligan.
Well, certainly. Now, do I use pen and ink?
Ah, no, you simply trace your finger along.
Well, this is very unintuitive. I've never tried this before, but let me try. He takes his finger and he starts...
New technology.
He starts signing it with his finger, having a bit of difficulty. He's a calligrapher after all, and he's used to writing with a pen and ink like an art form. But with just his finger on this tablet, I assume it's like one of those touch tablets where you sign... Yeah. And it's very much not like normally using a pen. It's very finicky. It doesn't register the finger sometimes. It gets jagged. He's looking, he's like, And I'm pretty sure it has an option to erase and try again.
Yeah,
He's
sure.
going to be doing that for like 5 minutes.
While he's doing that, Maeve leans over to Armando and says, "Is this because I am the pirate? They know I might take the very nice pen? Because they are hard to find, and sometimes he likes to take them. Do you think he knows that?"
Probably. He seemed to know very much. I wouldn't worry about it, though.
Bartholomew is struggling and looks at this stupid thing, and he does the best he can. And he's like, "Is that good enough? No, retry."
Are there, like, a separate tablets we can use? I mean, no offense, Bartholomew, but you are taking a very long time. And Maeve and I, hey, maybe I'm not taking advantage of a situation. Maeve, let's get to know each other. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color is the copper. If I put or eat the copper, my hair turns green.
Copper. I will twitch my mustache when I hear you are eating copper. I don't say anything, but like I smile, but my mustache is twitching. And then I turn back to Bartholomew because I'm a little off-put by your dietary choices. And I'm hoping Bartholomew is almost done signing because I would like to read the contract before I sign anything.
Bartholomew is feeling the pressure of everyone looking at him and wanting him to get done. And now he's less worried about his calligraphy skills and now more worried about upsetting people. So now he just looks at what he's written. He's not happy with it, but the overwhelming feeling of getting on people's nerves gets to him. He says, "Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry that took so long." He's looking back thinking he can reset it, but he's like, I can't. I'm ashamed of, I don't like this new way of doing things, but the new way of doing things is allowing me a second chance at life, so beggars can't be choosers, I guess is what they'd say.
So what does this contract say?
Well, it's fairly basic. You have a look down. It says something along the lines of, "I, the undersigned, hereby agreed to forfeit my right to passing on through the afterlife in the normal way for a chance at returning to the land of the living. If I fail to do so, I hereby give up my right to pass through the afterlife in the standard way and go straight to the nothingness beyond, blah, 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 blah. I, the undersigned, signed." And then there's about 100 different versions of Bartholomew's signature. Because instead of pressing the undo button, he pressed return. So it just moved on to a new line. And because of how the tablet was aligned, it just moved everything up so you couldn't see the new one. So you have to scroll for a while to get down to a new line.
So I turn to Maeve and I say, I think Bartholomew has like now 50 lives or something like that. He has agreed to this many, many times and he can do whatever he wants. But I will only sign it once. I'm okay. And so I sign with my finger. It is very sloppy, but I'm okay. And then I hand to Maeve.
I was going to say that's actually a great idea. I hacked into the system. I could live 50 times now. I have 50 lives. Hackaman.
Maeve takes it as she kind of like blows on her fingers to make sure it's super duper out and signs. It goes, "This is how we sign," and it is super pretty.
The we'll call them Death's Appointee, because that's the phrase I've got on my notes. Death's Appointee takes the tablet back, kind of blows on it, just goes, "Well, that's not coming off. No matter, it's still binding. Yes, so your first step is to go and see the boatmen down by the shoreline. They will take you to the gate of the afterlife, and they provide directions to you, so you know which way to go. And then says, one more thing before you go. You are now," and then clicks a finger, and your fire-breathing kitten's tattoos kind of start glowing green, and they will stay glowing green for as long as you stay in the land of the dead.
Mm.
You are now bound for the land of the living. This is the land of the dead. Only the dead may reside here. If you spend too long here, then you may find yourself unable to pass back to the land of the living."
So, for the listeners' edification, my tattoo is a very, very small tattoo on the back of my neck, but you can't really see it because I got long, a shoulder-length hair, and so it is obscured a little bit, and I don't even know that it is glowing. So unless it is glowing on one of you two in a way that is more prominent.
Yes, I have a question concerning that as well, GM. My tattoo is on my right shoulder blade, and it is underneath my coat and clothing. So would the glowing be seen underneath the clothes?
I think it would be seen in certain wavelengths.
I see.
But if it's obscured, then you wouldn't necessarily see it, but you would probably feel it kind of it'd be a bit warmer.
Maeve's is right, on her collarbone, visible because she has the billowy pirate shirt. And she just kind of looks down and she goes, "See, Z must have used the copper."
That is why I don't need copper. That is a bad side effect it look like.
I see your Five Breathing Kittens logo is glowing, and all of a sudden I feel a bit of warmth on mine here. And he's past his shoulder.
Now that you say that, my neck is feeling a little bit warm, and I pull up my hair, and I show my compatriots, I say, "Hey, is this glowing too?"
Yes, it would appear so. I wonder, you said no copper, but perhaps you have some kind of copper intake.
Hey, listen to me, okay? I do not eat copper. No offense to you, Maeve. Eating copper is your right. I don't eat copper. So don't even accuse me of that, okay? This is something different.
Bartholomew takes some time to remove his shirt and coat and check to see if he's glowing as well. I don't remember eating copper as well, but I'm glowing as well. Maybe someone slipped some copper into my coffee this morning. Maeve?
I would not waste my copper on you. It is sometimes very hard to find these elements to make the glow pretty, and I need them for particular cities where the orange Maeve may not be as welcome as a different colored Maeve.
Okay, I know you're trying to go real hard on the copper theory. However, I have not have copper. All of us are glowing. It probably has something to do with the thing we just signed on the whatever we signed. And it sounds like we have a time limit to get out of here before something terrible happens, you know?
I see. Yes. Should head out immediately then.
I don't want to be stuck like a deer with the headlights, you know?
I will say during that exchange, none of you noticed, but the office and Death just faded into nothingness, leaving you behind. The whole thing, your whole surroundings just kind of evaporated, and now you're standing in what appears to be quite a large marketplace. It's a weird mishmash of different cultures. So you have kind of a bazaar type thing. You've got large temples. There are some what you can see are green translucent buildings kind of towering from that. They all seem to be quite ethereal, but coming back into your own heads from talking about whatever it was you were talking about.
So I am looking around and I elbow Bartholomew and Maeve with both my elbows. I'm between them, elbowing them both simultaneously. And I say, "Are you seeing what I am seeing? This is like a mismatch of cultures. A bazaar over here and temples over here and a translucent glass over there."
This must be part of the land of the dead, but we must find our way through. We should have asked the death man for the map, but and she pulls out, she has a compass and pops it open. Is it doing anything?
Spinning violently.
See, this man has broken the compass, and I suppose we could explore the bazaar or explore the area and see if... how are we to travel to escape? Is there some kind of gate, or are we supposed to check off, yes, we are the good people? Because I am not necessarily what you would traditionally call the good person.
Well, you say you're a pirate. You should know where we should find this ferryman or boatman. We're supposed to look for a boatman to bring us back to the land of the living.
Hey, GM, are there many people around us, or is it just buildings and stuff?
Yeah, there are quite a few people around you. So if you were to look at them in any sort of detail, they look quite strange. So some look quite similar to you, but almost as if you dried them out a bit. They look quite gaunt, quite pale. Whereas some others look almost see-through. You can see kind of their skeleton, and you couldn't basically see through them. And they're all kind of going about their day to day. So they've got people selling different wares. Hopefully no one asks too much, otherwise I'll have to make something up. So there's a lot of shouting around the place. And weirdly enough, you hear one voice above all the others shouting incredibly loudly. So you hear the voice echoing off different walls of like the temples and different statues and say, "How dare you accuse me of treachery? Do you know who I am? My name is Arturo Contenza Bilanzo de Medici, and I will not be spoken to by someone of your ill repute."
Hey, that guy has a good sounding last name. He probably good looking too, I don't know. With a name like that, you gotta be, you know? Anyway, let's go see what this loud man is talking about. By the way, I do not tell my friends, but I say to myself, there are ghosts everywhere. So I whisper a little prayer to myself and I kiss my onyx a necklace. My pendant is my good luck charm, but I kiss it because I don't want to be affected by the ghost.
Okay, so how about we call this, if you're trying to find the source of the voice, we'll instigate a challenge.
Is this a group challenge?
No, what
Okay.
we'll do is we'll have it, because Armando is kind of leading the charge. It's your want to do this. We'll just have Armando roll this. So I'm just going to roll 1d6 on this. So let's say if you win, then you can find your way through the bazaar to the source of this shouting man. If I win, let's say, oh, here's a good one. If I win, you can still find your way through, but someone is going to bump into you on the way, and you will mysteriously find that everything you seem to take with you into the afterlife has mysteriously disappeared.
I don't know if I like that very much because I have my good luck necklace, my pendant. I don't want to lose that. So can I renegotiate? Like, if this is a bargaining exchange, right? I can negotiate with you further?
I'll just briefly explain. So for these challenges, you've got a couple of things you can do to increase the number of dice you roll. So you've got traits, you can use those, which are effectively words to describe your character. You get one every time you level up. And for the purposes of this one shot, I think everyone's got 3 traits you've chosen. So just 3 words to describe your character. So Armando, for example, what are your traits?
So my traits are honorable, a superstitious, and emotional.
Okay, so what you would do if you wanted to try and use one of those traits is you go, okay, my character is superstitious, so I'm going to give you a bit of a freebie here for an idea. You'd go, because I'm superstitious, I'm holding on right close to the most precious thing, which is my necklace. Therefore, it would be immensely unlikely for someone to pickpocket it because I'm physically holding on to it. At which point I would go, yeah, that makes sense. Take another 1d6, 2d6. We'd kind of agree on it.
That is kind of what I was going to do, but not hold it the whole time. I thought like my little prayer would do something. But yes, I will take your freebie because I will not look a gift horse in the mouth. Holding the necklace. And so is that extra d6 then, or?
Yeah, we'll give you an extra d6 on that one. So that puts you up to 2d6.
Okay.
It would be at that point, then you could, if you wanted, you could try and bargain for extra effects. So if you were like, hey, if I win, then we can get some extra goodies for me. Maybe I can find this person easier. Or maybe like if you win, then something bad happens that you kind of choose. Or maybe you want to provide me extra dice.
Okay, here's what's going to happen.
But you don't have to.
No, I think this is a perfect exercise, and I am more than willing to try it out. So I got the 2 dice. You have 1. I would like to add 1 more because I am emotional, and this is a very emotional situation. So my head is on a swivel. I am very aware of my surroundings. I am very not afraid, but ready. You know, because I am prepared. However, I will give you an extra dice if I win. We find a beautiful hat for Maeve, like gorgeous, like it is wrought by the gods themselves, like incredible.
Yeah, I like those odds. So we're up to 3d6 for Armando and then 2d6 for me. So at this point, that's what we agree on what's going to happen if Armando wins, what happens if I win. So at this point, if I win, then you still get stuff stolen off you.
That is fair. Like, I do not want... Does that include my necklace that I am holding?
Yes. So
Okay.
despite all that, for narrative reasons, we'll call it, then that stuff gets stolen. So at this point, we roll. Well, I've got good news for you.
Okay.
I rolled 2 ones.
That is very good news.
So
Kind of wasted my roll. I don't know if you can see that. It's a 6-4-4.
6 and 2 4s, yeah.
Can you imagine the hat that Maeve is going to get? I should ask for something for Bartholomew. I'm sorry, Bartholomew.
Oh, think nothing of it.
Next time I ask for a security system, like an anti-eating thing for your horse.
Okay, so how this sorts itself out is that you pinpoint the source of this shouty voice. You follow it through the crowd. It's a bit of a, people jostling. Someone attempts to steal something of yours, but you just elbow him in the face. So yeah, you manage to find the source of this voice and the hat. This beautiful... What would your ideal hat look like, in fact, Maeve?
Her ideal hat would be like a handcrafted leather pirate captain's hat with a very ornate feather coming out the back, and it like fits so perfectly that it would take either like a deliberate purpose or like an weather act of God to get it off of her head.
Wouldn't that be a bicorn hat? I believe is what you're thinking of. It's the one that has the 2 things. It's got the real big thing in the center.
Like Captain Crunch?
No, not like Captain Crunch.
Oh,
more
never
like
mind.
More like a tricorn.
Yeah, tricorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with Captain Crunch, and his hat is very nice.
But yes, and it would just like complete her aesthetic, but also with it being a tricord, she'd be able to like duck her head and not stare her burning eyes into people's skulls.
Oh yeah, that was one of the main issues.
That's right. I keep seeing dots everywhere I look from looking at your eyes earlier. It's like the little purple dots everywhere. Like you stare at the sun too long. That's what I'm seeing all over the place.
This hat, like you see it, and weirdly enough, it's on the head of someone stood next to the person doing all the shouting. And as you approach, the shouting man is still very much in an argument with a shopkeeper. And he's kind of like waving his arms around and making all sorts of rude hand gestures, which we can't replicate in an audio medium. But then he kind of turns to the person next to him and just goes, "Maria, talk some sense into this man." And this person turns and kind of lifts her head up. And Armando, you have the startling revelation that these 2 people, one of them wearing the hat of Maeve's dreams, are your parents.
So, like, I did not describe my skin tone at the beginning of the game, but it is like fairly tan, light tan, but the blood drains from my face. I go completely white because my parents are not good people. They are very dishonorable. I do not want to have anything to do with them in the living life or the afterlife. This was a mistake, and I'm sorry for leading us here to these terrible people. But that hat is very nice. We can take maybe the hat. I feel obligated to say, "Hello, mother. Hello, father."
Your father turns to you, and he looks very different to how you remember him in life, mostly due to the rather gaping stab wound in his chest.
Yes. I turn to Bartholomew and Maeve and say, "They were assassinated many years ago. That is to explain the big holes in them."
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Don't be. They are terrible people.
Oh.
It's true.
Then it sounds like they got what they deserved, and I see the hat of my dreams. Should I try being charming, or should I just do a little bit of smacking? Because I have not gotten to fight in about 24 hours, and I am feeling a little twitchy.
I will say they are very slimy, so be careful if you try to negotiate. However, I don't know what fighting is like with somebody who is already dead, and I don't know if that will throw us down to the boat, so maybe I don't know. Let's see what they have to say, and then maybe we find out. I don't know. I might let you do the talking. I do not like my parents.
So I will say, whilst you're kind of having this little aside conversation, there is this ethereal kind of bong, bong, bong. It's the same bong you heard while you were in the waiting room. And you kind of like look at each other and you see that each of your bodies are starting to go incrementally more transparent as you go. You know, in Back to the Future, whereas Marty's hand starts to fading, it's kind of like that, but just you've turned the opacity slider down on yourselves by about 10%.
Well, this doesn't seem very good. I believe we're running out of time. Got to find this ferryman as fast as possible. But that hat.
But priorities. So your father turns to you and goes, "And who do you think you are?" Eh?
Father, it is me. It is Armando.
Armando, no, it cannot be. I remember my son and he was nowhere near as fat as you.
She punches him.
I'm just going to be still, like, I'm just going to take it in my shoulders slump a little bit.
Maeve is going for a swing. That unhooks the chain. She's swinging and going for that.
You know what? Yeah, sure, why not? It's not going to go into full-fledged combat.
No, she's just like, I like these people, and there's a very cool hat, and I have not gotten to hit anything in 24 hours, and she has the trait of brash, by the way, so she's going to brashly take a swing.
I love your new character.
All right, so how about we say we'll kind of mush together some of the combat rules, and like normally if you're unarmed, you kind of start off with 1d6 in combat because you're brash, as you said. We can, if you want, you can add an extra 1d6 onto that. Meanwhile, I will just roll 1d6 as a defense. So how combat works is basically it's the exact same as challenges. You just roll slightly different numbers of dice. So in this case, Maeve is rolling 2d6 to an attack. Arturo is rolling 1d6 for defense. If Maeve wins the roll, then the attack connects and damage is done. But if Arturo wins it, as in, you know, the roll is higher, then the attack does not connect.
Sweet.
Arturo rolled a 3.
Maeve rolled a 6.
Yes. Okay. So what is it? What does this look like? Paint us a picture. You're not doing like damage, but like you're really clocking him.
No, Maeve hears the comment, and she was already in motion, but she saw out of the corner of her eye the way that Armando kind of shrunk in, and it just like renews it in her. And she is just like completely sucker punching him. She's trying to get between him and the woman enough that when she turns around, she can get the hat and go back to Armando. And as she's swinging, she says, "That is not how you talk to your son. You must treat him with respect. He is an adventurer, and you are an asshole."
Love it.
You can pardon her French. She is French.
I think at this point, Arturo is just kind of shocked more than anything. Because not only is this person talking to an esteemed individual such as himself, but she's made physical contact and it hurts. You can kind of almost see he's been dead for 11 years. So like previously his face was like kind of gaunt as anything, but like you can see it kind of almost turning completely red through the anger that's surging through his system. So Maria, who is Armando's mother, just kind of steps in between you and goes, "Hey, that's enough. My Spanish accent is ropey at best, insulting at worst." So
No, it's the same situation as the room we were in with the accents get all crazy.
Yeah,
So,
the land of the
afterlife.
dead. Accents go bananas in the land of the dead.
So Maria steps between us, and Maeve is like, "Well, first of all, I have worked for the royalty before, and just because you are the royalty or whatever hoity-toity you think you are does not make you better than the next person, and I have taught that to two very, very stuck-up princes. I can teach it to you, you big fat man, and your hat, madam, is very the perfect, and I would very much like a little copy, if not the original item. And if you continue to insult my friend, I will continue this retraining of your husband. We can phrase it like that. I hope you are not as much of a poor person as he is."
When I hear this, my eyes get like even bigger. Like I feel them frozen a little bit. I'm shocked that she hit my father. And it's like I feel like I wish I would have done that myself, but that's not something I do. They are they are terrible people. So my eyes just get bigger.
Maeve, how would you feel about another challenge, real quick?
Let's do it.
Because at the moment, you're trying to simultaneously diffuse the situation that you've started and also trying to get a hat off this woman.
Oh, she doesn't care about diffusing the situation. The man can be mad. She wants the hat.
Okay, you're trying to get a hat off a woman whose husband you just punched in the face.
Yes.
That seems difficult. So let's say I'll roll. Let's make it tricky. Let's say 3d6. Because as I said, you're trying to get a hat off a woman whose husband you just punched in the face.
That is very audacious.
It's a tricky thing to do.
So she is brash in anger, but she can also be, it could be brash in the way she's trying to charm the pants off this woman while simultaneously beating her husband to a pulp.
I think brash in the way of being kind of cheeky, you know?
Yes, there we go.
So I would allow the usage of that trait for 1 more d6.
I like
so
those odds.
You're up to 2 at the moment. So at the moment, if you win, then she'll kind of respect the moxie, I think, and just go, you know what? You're not worth our time, but I respect it. Take my hat. It looks like you need some extra fashion. Everything's going to be a backhanded thing with
That
them.
sounds like my mother.
But if I win, she will call whatever passes for security in the afterlife. But you always have the option of utilizing context, which is usually in the case of any character backgrounds, should they be relevant. In this case, you might be able to try and leverage. Her son is literally right there. So you might be able to play on some familial connections there, whether you've got any items on your person which may be relevant.
Oh, I have one. Maeve turns to his mother and says, Madam, it does seem like your husband is stressful and his life to you, and it must be very hard being married to such a person. And I have, and she's digging in her pocket and she pulls out a silver flask and she says, this was given to me and it is full of the liquor. I feel like you would perhaps need this in your day-to-day life. And it supposedly is very haunted, and it's not haunted. It comes from some kind of land of dead, kind of weird. Place, and so it seems like it would fit in here very, very well. So I would love to offer this to you as well, if I to help you just through your day-to-day life.
Okay, yeah, so stick on an extra 1d6 for that, so you're up to 3 now.
Sweet.
If you're comfortable with your numbers at the moment, then we can roll. Otherwise, you can always bargain, or you've got 1 stress point at the moment because we're all playing at level 1. So you can use those to just add an extra d6 on in a pinch. Or if you need to, at some point, if you've got a luck roll, you can use those to re-roll that just the 1 time. So they're a precious resource, but you are free to use them when you see fit.
I am ready to roll.
Okay, ready to roll 3d6 each? Okay. Let's get some of that Foley in there. Well, my dice are not playing. Okay, so my highest roll after all that was a 3.
Oh, sweet. I had a 6, a 1, and a 5.
All right, so Maria will look you up and down and go, you're not worth my time. But first things first, I love this man. He is not the best person in the world, but neither am I.
It's true.
Do you really think he got where he was just by himself? No, it was all me.
The flask is still yours if you would like it. I know sometimes...
Oh, yes, I will take the flask gladly. We'll share it later on, but you need to get out of our sight, all right? Look, take the hat. You look like you could do with fashion advice. So you take this and you take it to the nearest tailor and you say, fix me.
Of course, but just so you know, and Maeve's backing away back to her friends, the murderer does not take fashion from the victims, no? And backs away. is not a very good insult, but it's what she can think of in the moment.
I think you are overwhelmed by the beautiful hat, and I don't blame you. It is beautiful. By the way, I would like to say when you were walking back with the hat from my mother, I was a little suspicious because you are a pirate, and pirates do not have honor, and I do not like people with no honor. I was very disconcerted having to work with you. However, once I see what you do for me and how you stood up to some pretty terrible people and you restore my honor, I am now you can count me as a close friend. I will die for you.
Oh, that is so sweet. Do any of you need anything else? Should I am feeling very satisfied. I have gotten to punch, and look at my hat.
Yes, your hat is very beautiful, actually. But as you can see, we are slowly disappearing. I believe we're running out of time. We need to find this port as soon as we can.
I agree.
Yes, the death did tell us how to find it. Lead the way, Bartholomew.
Well, I do have a bit of experience with ships. Actually, yes, after me.
I'm going to go ahead and shout while you are trying to discuss who's going to do. I shout at the bazaar and say, hey, does anybody know where the boatman is?
Okay, if I could just pause it there briefly. Leveling up in this game is not like leveling up in other TTRPGs. So you don't have like XP that you get every single time. You level up by growing as a character, so your character achieves things they want to achieve, or maybe they come across like different emotional barriers that they can get past, or maybe there's trauma. There's all sorts of trauma in people's backstories, let's face it. If you get over that or grow as a person or become a slightly more multifaceted being, then that's warranting a level up. So in this case, I think both Armando and Maeve have warranted a level up with that interaction. If you're playing in a regular campaign, we're just doing a one-shot at the moment. If you're doing a regular campaign, you have to wait till downtime to level up. In a one-shot, it's basically instantaneous, but we are getting fairly close to a break. So I'll just ask you to do it during the break, just so we don't have to pause it for the moment. But yes, you two can level up during the break. And yes, Armando yells out, does anyone know where the boat guy is? And I'm not even going to make you roll for this because you did get instructions. So like a voice just from the back yells back, yeah, it's down by the river. You see all those big masts?
Of course.
Big masts down there? Yeah, it's down there. It's where all the ships are, idiot.
I was distracted by the beautiful hat. And Bartholomew is looking pretty good too. I mean, like, his outfit is pretty nice.
Well, thank you, yes. Tricorn hats are in style at the moment.
I'm not a hat man, but on you, that looks great.
Well, thank you very much.
So to the river then?
Yes.
To the river. You followed the instructions that were given to you in the first place.
Sorry, I was not paying attention. I think that is very clear right now.
No, but that's fair enough. You follow both sets of instructions. Down towards the river, you do see boats kind of in the harbour, but they're mostly fishing boats, which is strange because you wouldn't have thought necessarily that dead people need to eat, but who knows what they're for. At the end of a long, long pier, you see another hooded figure just stood menacingly next to a boat with no sails and no oars, and you think, this is just weird enough to be the person.
Bartholomew walks up. Excuse me, good sir, are you the ferryman?
Aye, that I am.
We would like to take a trip back to the living.
Ah, is that right? Can I see, what do we call them?
Credentials?
Yeah, that's the word, yeah.
Yes, we weren't given anything, were we?
I think you got a lot of unbuttoning to do. He probably wants to see your glowing tattoo.
Oh, yes, of course. He starts
It's
to...
going to take a while, boatman.
That's all right, I got time.
Yeah, so Bartholomew
I'm not going anywhere.
takes his shirt, his coat off, and shows him the tattoo on his shoulder blade. And my compatriots here also have the same tattoo.
I move my luscious hair and I show my tattoo.
Maeve just kind of gestures to her collarbone.
No, I noticed, it's fine. All right, that checks out. Last thing, it's traditional at this point for you to cross my palm with silver. You get my meaning?
Well, I do actually have a bit of silver right here. And he reaches into his ammunition pocket and pulls out 3 silver bullets.
Sorry, mate. Wrong type of silver. There's actually a specific type you need, and
You gotta be kidding me.
I mean,
Where are we supposed to get silver in this place?
Death should have told you. You know, you weren't talking while they were trying to explain, were you?
Of course not. We are polite. Do you not think we are polite?
I am not polite. Is there anybody walking? There's people walking around the docks, right?
Yeah.
Can Maeve step back, bump into one, and pickpocket them and step forward?
Yeah, well...
She is a pirate.
Yeah, I won't turn it into a challenge. We'll just stick it into a luck roll. So, like, if you win, you will get a silver piece and, let's say, some fish bait.
Fair enough.
If I win, then they're about to find someone digging through their pockets, and we'll just kind of slap you away and kind of curse you out a bit.
Fair enough.
Just the 1d6 each. 3, 2, 1, roll. Ooh, I got a 5 this time.
Got a 2.
Okay, so let's say it's a couple walking along the docks. They both look, well, everyone looks quite gaunt around here because, you know, they're dead. But you kind of try and sidle up and be quite suave about it. But whilst you're digging in their pockets, your head slightly tilts and that massive feather kind of droops in front of their face and kind of tickles their nose and whoop, get out of here.
Apologies. This was this way of things. There's about many apologies. And she just backs back up. And then she looks at the ferryman and goes, see, the silver is not available. What do you suggest we do?
Bloody tourists.
Bartholomew reaches into his backpack. Well, I don't have any silver pieces with me, and if alchemically silver-coated bullets won't do, I've got something more valuable than silver. Inspiration. Here, take a look at this magazine here. It is The Inspirer, written by yours truly.
Is that the one with the crossword puzzle on the back?
The very same.
I love that magazine.
This is a recent edition I've written in the past week. It's the second edition since I've been in Nicomoy. Many current events happening there, including the zombie curse that was affecting Karmic Hills.
It is appropriately titled, you know. It is very inspiring.
Yes, and isn't inspiration worth more than silver? GM, I would like to roll a contested roll.
Don't worry, I was just waiting until you finished talking.
Yes.
To say that. Yes, so here comes a challenge for Bartholomew. So you're trying to convince the boatman to accept a magazine in place of regular payment.
Yes, and I would like to use the trait Eloquent.
Let's call it a 2d6 difficulty, so that's what I'm going to roll.
And I've got 2d6 as well. Let's do it.
Certainly Eloquent, I'd say that's definitely within your wheelhouse.
Mhm.
So at the moment, the terms would be if you win, he will accept your magazine as payment on the basis that he's about to finish work for the day. I'm assuming they've got days in the afterlife. Why not? He's about to clock off.
It sounds like a union job. So,
Yeah.
you know, he probably had a lot of time off.
Oh yeah. Like afterlife boat keepers have a very strong union.
I believe it. And appropriately so. It's a dangerous job.
If I win, then he will not accept that and insist on correct payment, which will be explained to you afterwards. But if you're happy with that, you can still feel free to use any other traits or, context. You've still got a stress point if you want to add that on, or if you want to try and bargain.
I thought of bargaining, but in this context, he wouldn't bargain because he's more humble and genuine than to try to bargain.
You're bargaining with me, not the boat keeper. Think about bargaining less about your character
Actually bargaining.
more about the player bargaining with the GM.
I've already rolled 2d6, and I rolled a 6 and a 2.
Okay, so you went for it anyway. All right, fair enough. And then I got a 4 and a 2, so resolution passes.
I do hope you enjoy reading this. It'll inspire you and bring you up to... I'm not sure if you'd be able to bring yourself up to the realm of the living or if you're bound here, but my town is in dire need of assistance.
I hope you can appreciate I'm not exactly one to get out much, but I do appreciate the reading material, and you know what? I'm about to clock off anyway, so if you don't tell, I won't.
Understood. Thank you so much for understanding. All right, everyone, let's get on the boat.
All right, everyone hop on, and I think that's probably where we'll call it for this half of the episode.
Well, thank you, Ferryman.
You're welcome. I thought I'd be a mouthpiece for the ever almighty GM. You know how it goes. Part of my job, you see. Union rules. As that very handsome, otherworldly boatman said, it's we're going to call it for this half of the episode. We're going to be back in just a few short moments. All you need to do is just keep your podcast player playing. It's real easy for you. But, of course, if you fancy doing something else in the meantime, you can always leave us a nice rating and review on whatever podcast platform you happen to be listening on. They're always very much appreciated. And if you leave a particularly nice one, then we will read it on here in any voice that you choose. You do have to specify, otherwise it will be drawn at random from a hat.
We do have a collective hat, and we do draw from it. It is a nice hat.
Yeah.
It's not as nice as Maeve's hat, but, what can you do?
Yeah, well, the thing with like Maeve's hat and Bartholomew's hat is they're not very, good for balancing. So they're quite wobbly hats. But that's not a conversation for now. We're going to have a quick break, and you can just listen right on through to the next part. We'll see you in a bit.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Today's mid-episode shout-out is, quote, "To the environmental advocate Greta. Your tireless efforts to protect our planet inspire me every day. Your work really makes a difference." End quote. You can arrange for us to read your shout-out at firebreathingkittenspodcast.com. Is there an episode of Fire Breathing Kittens that you think someone you know would like? Tell them about it. And did you know we have paperback and hardcover adaptations of our adventures on Amazon and Audible? Go find them. Bye.
Bong, bong, bong. What's that? It's the bell of doom calling all souls to the next world. Oh yeah, sorry. Wrong show. Welcome back to the Fire Breathing Kittens podcast. We are in our second half of this particular episode, which is called, who knows, we figure it out afterwards. But joining us again for this second half, they haven't run off, they haven't abandoned us, which is always good to hear. Good in a relationship to not run off halfway through. Still here after all this is Armando.
Yes, I'm still here. I'm on the boat. I'm very excited to be alive again.
Bartholomew.
Well, we have managed to pay our way through literature onto this ferry boat to the land of the living.
And Maeve.
As this is not the ocean, but the river will do for now.
Yes, so just to quickly recap the first half, everyone's dead. It's very embarrassing. They have to find their way back to the land of the living before time runs out, and they are stuck forever in the land of the dead. Also, Maeve punched a man and now has a hat.
It was my father.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I have no regrets.
Nor should you. They're on a boat now. They've just paid the boatman with a magazine instead of silver, and they are off towards the gate of the underworld. So, how this boat works is the boatman kind of stands right at the back. It's kind of like a gondola. He's stood at the back. There's no paddle or anything, but he's kind of controlling the boat as we go. You three are just kind of sat quite comfortably. I think, Armando, you have the lowest bar for comfort, so you're probably the most comfortable because they're kind of
Oh, this
wooden
is
benches.
very nice. This is like a luxury a chip.
Bartholomew is sitting comfortably. He doesn't have any coffee with them. He's a bit distraught, but he's keeping his mind busy writing poetry about the adventure he's currently on with his two companions.
Maeve is kind of leaning over the side, dunking her hand into the water, cooling it off, pulling it out, reigniting the underneath, because she's just trying to see if it changes the color of her hand.
Are you sure you should be touching that water? I mean, maybe it is not water.
That is the hope, is it not? Maybe I discover a new element and get to be a different color.
I like your color already, but I mean, you could also melt your hand off. That sounds pretty bad.
Oh, that's right. I was trying to pay the ferryman with this silver bullet here. See if it does something for you. It's not pure silver, but it's coated in silver powder. And he hands you one of his silver bullets.
Maeve takes out an arrow and scrapes some of the silver off and then puts it on her tongue. And in case you are wondering, I did research this. Nothing changes because silver doesn't give off a color when it's lit on fire and consumed by fire.
Oh, that's a shame, but you can keep that bullet. It's nice knowing I don't have to fight zombies all the time, especially those revenants from Summerfell.
This is very nice of you, thank you. I will find another use for the silver. Unfortunately, it looks like it does not do anything. My quest continues. Since I was very successful in my hat quest, I am very positive that we can accomplish all of your goals and all of my little curiosities.
Well, yes, indeed.
As you're chatting away happily, the boat moves out of the kind of dock area, the harbour, and starts to move further upriver where the signs of civilization start to fade away. It takes a while to pass through the rest of whatever you want to call that bit of the land of the dead, and soon you're kind of in the wilds. So as the boat goes along, it cuts through the water, and you start to see these little green lights underneath the water in the wake of the boat as it goes along. And you just kind of stare at them for a moment. They're very peaceful to look at, despite not knowing what they are. And the boat driver, Helms, the boat keeper, there we go. I don't know a lot about boats.
You could just say the boatman.
Yeah.
He is a boatman.
Yeah. The boatman, now the difficult part of steering around other people's boats has kind of subsided. He's got quite a lot of free time now, so he kind of just starts talking to you three a bit. Well, he's now got the magazine kind of rolled up in his back pocket of his robe for later. And he just goes, "Has anyone ever told you how the afterlife came to be?"
Was it not always forever, like existing, or what? What do you mean?
Oh, well, I mean, it's always existed as in a sense. I mean, you know, if you quantify afterlife being the moment post-life, then yeah, it's always appeared. It's just in the last million or so years, your time, that we've started to make it a bit more user-friendly. So previously, what would happen is that you go straight from life to the nothingness of the abyss, right? And trying to make that sell, you know, if you're the one taking the person from the land of the living to the abyss, that's a tough sell, right? So people try and refuse, they run away, and that's how you get spirits, that's how you get ghosts. It's people with unfinished business who want to stick around in the land of the living, but then, you know, there's no space for them afterwards. They don't want to go onto the abyss, which is, you know, fair enough. So some time ago, Death, they decided to get this kind of in-between place, this land of the dead, you see, and kind of act as a bit of a halfway house so that people go from the land of the living to the land of the dead, where they can get over any kind of unresolved issues, this unfinished business, as we like to call it. They can get through that here, and then when they're ready, they just shift on over to the abyss. And it's actually quite tidy, really. We got about, I don't know if they mentioned you in onboarding, they've got it's a good several thousand different versions of the afterlife running at once. It's actually quite a neat system.
Being a ghost and haunting like the land of the living, if that is like the path we would like to choose, is that something we can do? Like, do we get to pick where we haunt, or like what is the situation there?
Well, I mean, times have changed a little bit. I guess. So usually what happens is that people are much more amenable to going to the land of the dead. So we have nowhere near as many people kind of refusing to go. It's, you know, in cases such as yours for like accidental stuff, you're not really in the place to, you know, follow on to the next life. So that's why we take you to the waiting room, and you can kind of talk through things with Death. So you can, you know, make an informed choice about your afterlife preferences, as they like to call them, because they are, you know, nerds.
I did not think death would require so much consent. Like, I thought it was just the way it was, you know?
I mean, I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of paperwork now. There's a lot of red tape.
As Bartholomew is listening to the ferryman talking about death and how souls depart and souls will stick around, he's reminded of the task at hand he's dealing with from home, the zombies coming from Summerfell, why they keep returning, why he has fought even his father and the undeath coming back as a zombie, and is curious. And he asks the ferryman, do you happen to know anything about the undead at Summerfell, or is that too far gone and too specific for you to know?
Well, I mean, I don't get. We don't exactly get the papers down here, if you get my drift.
I see. It's
But you know, I can take an uneducated. We don't have school there. Uneducated guess as to why things might be coming back. The thing is, I mean, once souls have passed from the land of the living to the land of the dead, you know, their bodies are basically just left out in the land of the living, right? You know, only a soul can pass into the land of the dead. So once that's happened, then the body is basically free use for any malcontent who happens to stumble along it.
malcontent. I've heard of stories of horrible individuals, using armies of undead. Perhaps that might be what's happening? They're being brought back to life?
I'll bet on that, especially if they keep coming back. That's the trick. But yeah, the thing is, at the point of death, the soul just moves on to the land of the dead, and that's why we do all that. What did you say your name was? I might have...
Bartholomew Salvador.
We used to do a work placement in different offices, so I... Actually, Endo, give me a luck roll. Come on. We'll do this mechanically, luck roll.
Okay. 1.
Ugh. I got a 3. So, sorry. Unless your old man was a hamster, you're out of luck.
Unfortunately, no, he was. And he says solemnly, he was a mountain clover.
I should mention, you can use a stress point to re-roll a luck roll, but only the once. So if you fancy getting a bit more, if you want to try that one again, you can.
Yeah, sure. I'll use my stress point to do a reroll. I got 2. Nope.
Well, no, that's a shame. But as I said, if a living person dies, they just go onto the land of the dead, and then the body is left in the land of the living. And yeah, if someone uses magic, say, they can just kind of bring him back as a soulless meat bag, really.
Well, I'll be honest. It brings a bit of relief to me. I can bring that home and let my family know that our loved ones are not being tortured. I do appreciate the information you've imparted on me.
That's all right. We all do a week's training in tour guide / therapy. So it's you can tell it's a bit of a tough position to be in.
Oh yes, I'm well aware. I've heard of some stories of fire-breathing kittens with boat rides and therapy.
I don't know what that means, but sure, why not?
It's a callback to an early episode from last season, and you were the GM for it. I just think it's funny that it's happening again.
I was being in character, sir.
The English call that acting.
Acting. I once tread the boards as Richard III, you know.
And Maeve's old character was a part of that episode as well. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's funny. It seems like early episode being run by this GM has to do with boats and therapy.
To be fair, I have very little memory of most of the adventures I've done.
That's why it's so fun. That's why it's so funny.
So I have a question for the boatman, if you're, because I'm overhearing this conversation with Bartholomew, and I have in my mind that I have to write down on my calendar once I am alive again to help him with this zombie like apocalypse or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. However, I want to do it honorably because I am an honorable man, and I want to know, Mr. Boatman, if I am slaughtering zombies. Is that a problem, like, morally speaking, or am I damaging the souls of anybody, or what's happening there?
Well, I mean, I can say you're not damaging the souls. That's a given. I mean, as far as morality is concerned, each person's morals are individual to the self, and can't possibly impose my own morals on you and tell you what's right and what's wrong. You have to decide that for yourself, blah, blah, blah. Day 2 of the training.
So there is no like code or nothing like honorable, what is dishonorable or honorable for death itself?
Oh, no, not like, not messages from on high. No, you decide that for yourself, mate.
I I'm a little mistrust. So I'm not communicating this to the boatman, but I'm a little mistrusting of death. Like, come on, you need to have a code. That would be a better for everybody. But I'm thinking that to myself. It's not communicating to anybody.
Fair enough.
Are the lights still going off in the river?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, because if one comes close enough to the surface of the water, Maeve is going to try to grab it.
Good. Because, as luck would have it, one comes slightly towards the surface and Maeve will try and grab it. You kind of reach your hands down into the river to grab the light. And what you pull out is, how would I describe it? How have I written? It's like a glowing green kind of skeletal fish. And what it has is some huge teeth and a mean look. And once you pull it out, then all the other green lights in the river, which so happily beforehand were just bobbing along, following the boat, now all seem to just stop briefly and rush towards the boat.
Oops.
And we are going to enter combat.
Uh-oh.
So, I'm glad you did that. So yeah, how combat works in this is each character has 3 different weapons. One of them is magic, one of them is melee, one of them is ranged. Out of combat, you can switch between them as much as you like. But in combat, for the most part, you just stick with a 1. You can switch on your turn, but you can't attack on that same turn. The order we do it is governed by the weapon's speed stat. Weapons have 3 stats: attack, defense, and speed. So speed governs the order we're going to do things. So the higher the stat, the faster you are, therefore the quicker you move. We already did it a little bit earlier, but if you're attacking, then you roll your attack dice, which may be like 1d6, 2d6, 3d6, whatever. And then if you're being attacked, you roll your defense dice, which, again, 1d6, 2d6, 3d6, blah, 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 blah. If your attack is successful, then you do 1 minor wound, unless you bargain to upgrade it. Unless stated otherwise, things that will do damage to you will do 1 minor wound. If you take 3 minor wounds, you get a major wound. So minor wounds are like bumps, scrapes, cuts, bruises, that sort of thing. Major wounds are a bit more of a pain, like a big slash or a concussion, or maybe a finger gets chopped off. If you get 3 major wounds, or 9 minor wounds, that's you dead, son. So we'll try and avoid that. I haven't made this particularly difficult, just for testing the system, but we're going to start things off. Okay, so can I just ask what speeds everyone has?
1.
1.
I also have a 1.
Okay, 1 for everyone then. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick free go to Maeve, because you've kind of instigated this. You've picked up this big glowy fish is going at you. What'd you do? Oh, by the way, I will just kind of be upfront. There are going to be 4 kind of fishies to fight off. They're each going to need 1 minor wound to retreat. So basically just hit them once and then they'll bugger off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I figured out the mechanics of it.
It's all right. We'll learn as we go. We'll learn as we go.
I was trying to think of how this will work, but I think I figured it out. So she's holding it. Is she holding it by, like, the top, the tail?
That's up to you. How do you think?
You're the one who picked it up.
Yeah, you're the one who picked it up.
So I think she just grabbed it from the top. She sees that there's teeth, and she just quickly draws her sword and tries to, like, cut it in half in a panic.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. Okay, so
That's 1d6 on my end.
yeah, and then as with challenges, both attacking and defending rolls can be affected by bargaining.
Ooh.
So if you fancy bargaining for some extra.
Yes, so one of her traits is intuitive. So I would like to bargain an extra d6 because she is a pirate. This is probably not the first time she's impulsively stuck her hand in the water and pulled out something unsavory. So her first instinct of, cut it in half is probably more ingrained at this point than the average person.
I mean, especially the fish part of it. Yeah, that makes an extraordinary amount of sense. Yeah, feel free to get an extra d6 on that. The defense of these fishes is going to be just the 1d6, so I'm just rolling the 1.
Sweet. Sounds like a plan.
Roll. Ooh.
Ooh, glad I had 2 there. She rolls a 4.
Okay, I rolled a 6.
Oh,
So, logically, it doesn't make sense for you to miss this, considering it's right there. But maybe the boat rocks at that moment with that incoming horde of fish. So it knocks the boat and you kind of sets you off balance for a moment, and the fish just goes flying back into the river.
these are monster fish. They are not friendly. Do not grab these lights.
So what we're going to do is have the fishes are going to have, because there are 4 of them, we're going to have 2 fish turns, and then we'll move on to your folks' turns. Seeing as you all have the same speed, you can decide amongst yourselves which order you want to go in. But for the time being, they roll 2d6 for attacking. So I'm going to make this fair. I'm going to roll a dice to decide who they attack. Actually, I think it's only fair that that one that just got thrown away is going to make a beeline for Maeve.
Fair enough.
So I'm just going to run it straight because I've got 2d6 against your 1d6 defense, I'm assuming.
Yep.
So I'm going to roll those now. All right, I got a 6 and a 1.
Oh, I got a 3.
Okay, so you will take 1 minor wound as this same fish just leaps out of the water, teeth gnashing like a very angry aquatic chihuahua, and clamps onto your, say, upper forearm and just before loosening its grip and dropping back into the water. Actually, no, it will stay kind of implanted on your arm. I think that's quite good as a as a vision. So it'll stay going, but yeah, you take 1 minor wound, and then another one is going to come and make a leap for Bartholomew, I think.
All right, I've got a 3.
Yep, and 6 and a 4. These fish are doing phenomenally well. So this fish will again leap out of the water and maybe go for your leg.
Mhm.
Again, like a very angry aquatic chihuahua. So you take 1 minor wound as well,
Mhm.
and then we'll move on to your 3's turn. So you can discuss amongst yourself, decide what order you want to go in.
If I may, Bartholomew will immediately grab the fish to throw it into the air and then shoot it in midair in retaliation. Being like, this foul thing, the undead-looking fish. I've been running into nothing but undead since I've joined the fire-breathing kittens. Throws the fish into the air and then goes to shoot it.
Yeah, there is a certain pattern to this, isn't there? The rats weren't undead; they were alive.
They weren't. Mm-hmm. And they killed me.
Yeah.
Well, technically.
Well, technically, your friend
Took them out
killed
too.
you.
I mean, it was not like a total loss.
No, let's see. I would imagine this act of standing up and announcing that out undead fiend and grabbing it, throwing it in the air, and then going to shoot with a musket, that would be courageous. I'd like to add that to my role.
I was going to say, if he's going to throw that fish in the air and shoot it, I'm very interested in that. I would be very impressed. I'm not a gunman, though, so maybe I'm easily impressed with guns.
I'll let you have another D6 on that one.
Okay,
So-
I'll go ahead and make a roll to
Yep.
attack. So I got a 6 and a 2.
Good. I got a 4. So you take the fish, pull it right off your leg, chuck it in the air, and then line your sights up briefly before
Perfect. Yeah,
shooting it, and it kind of let's say it explodes in this kind of like bony residue because they are
Bony,
quite
undead fishy
skeletal.
guts.
Yeah, in the way that undead fish tend to explode.
I would like to say, when that happens, I have a big smile on my face, and then the pieces of bony fish land on my face also. But I'm still smiling. It is very cool.
Oh. Okay, so that's 1 down. There are 3 left to go, and we still got Armando and Maeve to take their turns.
Armando, we could use some help. He
Yes,
says-
I'm sorry. I was blown away, no pun intended, by your marksmanship.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to attack the one that is currently implanted on Maeve's arm. And I'm going to use also my... so I get a 2d6 for my sword. But I would like to say that I got a new trait because I leveled up during the break.
You did.
And I'm now a loyal, especially to Maeve. And so my loyalty will power through, and I will unsheath my longsword, which sounds very cool when I unsheath it. It's like whooshing, It's so spectacular. So I take it out.
I imagine there would be some non-diegetic Spanish guitar that goes.
Yeah, it's a lot of like the beginning of a flamenco song. Like
Oh,
that.
yeah. I love it.
And so I take it out and I go right for the fish. I say, stay very still, Maeve. And I try to poke it with my long sword.
All right, trying to skewer the fish.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so that will give you. So you're up to 3d6 actually. So you better hope you get it.
I hope you roll a very poorly.
No.
And I would like to ask in advance if that luck roll can be appended after the result of the initial roll. Because I rolled very poorly.
Well, it might not be necessary. I rolled a 3.
Well, as it turned out, I rolled a 2, a 1, and a 2. It was very bad. I'm not used to the atmosphere in the land of the dead. Usually I'm very capable and crisp with my swordplay. But here it's different. I'm on a boat, which who wants to fight on a boat, number one? And then everything is dead. It's all up in my mind. So I would like to use either a stress point or a luck roll to add another roll if that is possible.
Unfortunately, if you're using a stress point to add an extra dice on, that needs to be done before we roll.
No problem.
And then luck rolls are their own thing anyway.
So I completely miss. Hopefully, I do not stab a Maeve.
No, what we'll say again is that some more fish ram into the boat and kind of, as you're preparing your riposte into the fish, it just kind of jolts you and you go wide. Rah!
That sounds better. I feel better about my myth.
Okay, Maeve, you're up.
Well, this is inconvenient at best. I suppose I deal with this myself. And she has her sword in her hand, and this time she's like tucking it in like the handle part in her elbow to help stabilize it, and just running the fish across the blade because she's just trying to get it off.
Trying to like descale it basically.
Yes, just let go. So I brash or intuitive? Like, this is her jam. She's fighting on a boat. She's done this before.
Yeah, well, that would come into context, I would say, for your character background.
Context. Okay.
That
Yes.
I don't mind just kind of giving you an extra d6 for attack rolls
Sweet. So I'm
while
rolling.
you're fighting on a boat. Yeah,
So I'm rolling 2.
2d6. Yeah.
Well, she rolled a 3 and a 1.
Well, I rolled a 1, so
Yes.
I don't like telling you before you think, oh, I've rolled horribly, and it turns out I've rolled even more horribly. What does this look like when you fillet this fish?
Maeve like flips the sword up into her armpit to help like stabilize it. She has the bottom of the pointy end in her hand so she's not cutting herself, and it's kind of like a macabre violin where she's just like back and forth, get off until it gets off of her.
And then, yeah, I think that would kind of like start to just saw it in half.
Yes.
All right, so that's 2 down, 2 to go, and it's the 2 ones which have not attacked yet, so that's quite handy. So one is going to come for Armando, I think. So I'm just going to roll that off for a 5 and a 4.
So I roll a 2 for my defense. It's a 1d6, correct?
Yes, unless you have any extras.
I don't believe. Well, I have leather armor. I don't know if that helps with anything, especially with biting a fish, because I assume it's like piercing damage or something like that. But if I'm wearing leather, they cannot get through leather. Those teeth are like kind of pointy, but not super pointy.
I mean, that depends entirely on where they're biting you, surely.
Well, I guess you tell me, where is the fish biting me?
The butt.
I have leather pants on, so my butt is covered. But I will say that that is a very uncomfortable place to be bitten by anything, especially a fish. So I'll go ahead and roll another d6, and I will be disappointed again because I roll another 2.
It's a very strong jaw on this fish.
No, I completely understand.
So
And I go, yow! Like that, like I was speaking a little bit on my sound, but it was appropriate, I think, because when you get bit on the butt by a fish, especially undead fish. That is the best response, is just to yell.
It lets everyone know anyway. All right, so that was one of them. And then the next one is going to go for, I'm just going
So is that a minor wound, I assume?
to... yes, that'll be a minor wound.
Minor wound on my butt. I can't believe it.
All right, the next one is going to go for Maeve. So
Bring
we're going
it.
to roll our attacks. Or my attack, your defense.
Do I get an extra in defense as well because I'm on a boat?
I think if you were on like a nice stable ship
Mm.
where you're kind of used to it, whereas you're on like a tiny little boat that's rocking all over the place.
Fair enough.
But I rolled a 3 and a 1.
I rolled a 3 as well.
Okay, so in this situation, because that's what we call a stalemate, so normally, as we said, if the two highest numbers draw, then we move on to the next highest. But in this situation, there is no next highest for one of the people. So then in a stalemate, then it resolves as neutrally or naturally as possible. So in this situation, I would say that basically defender wins because it's not a loss, basically.
Perfect.
So I'd say a fish kind of comes up to try and gnash at your face, but you kind of like the boat rocks again, so you end up accidentally kind of shifting back and it just goes flying right past your face and lands in the water on the other side. All right, so we're back to your guys' turn.
If I may first, I hear Armando's yelp out in pain, and I see that he's got a fish attached to his hindquarters. So what I'm going to do is quickly load my gun. It doesn't take 14 turns in this system.
No, doesn't.
And immediately shoot at that horrifying beast that's attached itself to Armando. Poor Armando.
I see
I have to relieve
Bartholomew
him.
pointing his gun at my butt, and I am very scared. So I freeze. So it's like, please do not shoot me.
In that case, it's like, I understand. I'm very humble, and I say, I understand.
No, you may shoot the fish. Just don't shoot me.
Hmm.
And I stick my butt out a little bit so the fish is wiggling in the air. So it's an easier target for him.
You can do
It's
it.
still painful, though. So, like, it's very difficult.
Bartholomew, I'm going to preemptively offer you a bargain here. In that I will provide you an extra... what attack are you running with at the moment?
I'll take you up on this bargain. I don't want to hurt him, but I have the potential to hurt him further using the tomahawk on my side.
Wait
as a
till
sidearm.
you hear the bargain first. I was just
Oh,
asking,
yeah.
asking what your gun damage does.
Oh, the attack is a D6.
Okay, so here's my bargain. I will provide you an extra 2d6 to bring you up to 3d6
Mm-hmm.
against my 1d6. However, if I win, so my roll is higher, then it will be Armando getting the damage,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be 2 minor wounds to bring him up to 1 major wound in total, because let's face it, he's been shot. That's the
That
the
works,
bargain.
and I'd like to roleplay that as now. I do have multiple weapons, but this will still be a ranged. I'm flavoring it as switching from a gun. He said, "Don't shoot me," and Bartholomew takes kindly. I understand, and he drops his gun down to his feet. He can grab it next turn, but he grabs his side tomahawk that he has for throwing at zombies that get a little too close for comfort. He takes that and he throws a tomahawk instead. Might deal some extra damage to poor Armando, but it's a risk he's willing to take to deal with this fish without shooting at him.
All right, roll your 3d6 then.
I don't know if I would prefer to be shot in the butt or have a tomahawk implanted into my butt. Both of these they're very bad choices.
A 5, a 3, and a 1.
Okay, I rolled a 2.
Okay. So you hear just all whoosh, and then a plunk of the fish with that tomahawk going through it, sinking down to the bottom of the river that we're sailing across.
Yeah.
Like, there we go. Hope you weren't too afraid of me using tomahawk instead.
I was not too afraid, but I was a little afraid. I mean, I saw the trick with the gun and now the tomahawk. You are like you are incredible, Bartholomew.
It's nothing. This is normal going up against undead fiends trying to kill you and drag you off to become a part of the undead horde. Think nothing of it.
Well, I will take a page out of your book and I will try again and attack this fish.
Yeah, so that is the last. We've got one more to go. It's the one that narrowly missed Maeve, so it's just circling around the boat, I think, by this point.
I would like to goad the fish to jump out of the water, like I will insult it, and perhaps his family or his mother specifically. And once the fish jumped out of the water, I will strike with my longsword.
All right, yeah. Okay, so do you want to try and add anything onto that, or?
I'm going to add a stress point right now, and so I do not regret not having added it before, and then I will roll. So that takes me up to 3d6. Is that okay with you?
Yep, that's fine by me.
Well, it did not really add anything with the stress point, but it's okay. I got a 6, a 1, and another 1.
I got a 5.
Oh, that is so good. I'm glad I could insult that fish. Get out of the water and bah!
So like, within the scene, what do you do?
So, like I am really getting into this fish's mind, you know? Like it is all insecure about itself, like he was trying to go after Maeve, but now it's like, I'm gonna go after this guy. This very handsome man with a big mustache. And so he jumped out of the water trying to get to me to defend his honor, which I can appreciate, let me tell you. But then, what he does not expect is the longsword comes out, blah! I slice it in half, and his head goes from a vicious bite attack to like a frown, which you cannot probably see a frown on an undead fish, but that is what he is doing. And it goes to the left, and his tail goes to the right, like past me, whoo! And I sheath my sword very gracefully afterwards, like, you know, like this is no big deal. I do this all the time.
He goes, do-do-do.
My word is, your swordsmanship is definitely needed at my hometown. Whenever you can help. We are assaulted by zombies multiple times during the year. Many skirmishes.
Gracias. I would gladly help you. I mean, if anyone is willing to throw a tomahawk at a fish that is biting my butt and not hit my butt, I am your friend.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you. Thank you, Armando.
But of course.
The boatman says at this point, because he's still...
What's the boatman doing?
He was just hanging out. He was just vibing. Like, well thought, you lot. I can't tell you the number of people who try and get back to the land of the living, and then we get to this bit of the river and they just get dragged overboard, eaten into bits. It's nasty, I'll tell you.
I'm going to ask the boatman a question. And as I am asking the question, I'm going to look at Maeve, and I'm going to say, excuse me, Mr. Boatman, do these fish attack if you do not put your hand in the water and try to grab one? And I'm looking at Maeve like, why did you grab one?
Usually they attack a bit closer to the gates, you know, for dramatic effect, I guess. But if you're stupid enough to stick your hand in there, then they're going to go for it, right?
They could have been some kind of glowing currency in the bottom of the river. We would not have known had I not grabbed them. And also, one time I grabbed the baby kraken, and it all turned out as fine as well. This is just the warm-up, no?
That's true. It is an opportunity for us to demonstrate our skills. So that is fine. Bartholomew, I think you should write a poem to remind Maeve not to stick her hand in the river of the undead.
How did you know I was writing poetry about the events that just transpired?
I am a fervent reader of The Inspirer. It is incredible.
Thank you. I was writing poetry earlier about Maeve and how she changes colors from the many different metals she applies to herself. And I was going to write poetry about you and how daring you looked when you sliced that fish in half.
I appreciate it. That is very kind.
We could do the special, what do you say, the special edition, the rules of battling for your, as according to what your French companion, that is me, needs to follow. That could be the special article, because this is also why you may notice I do not have the pirate crew. I may or may not have been, how do you say, fired. Occasionally, my impulses do not turn out okay, but this one turned out okay.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea for an article in the next edition of the Inspire. Yes, this is wonderful. Oh,
Bong. Bong.
I think this means the boat needs to go faster. That is what I'm thinking.
Mr. Boatman.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was checking my emails.
How is that even possible? That have technology is not aware. It is not available.
how can technology be so futuristic and so primitive at the same time?
It is what it is.
Maybe you should apply that technology to prevent the ghost fish from attacking people on the boat.
Well, do you not have ethereal mail in the lands of the living?
No.
Just a standard mail.
It's ghost parrots, you see. They fly messages in
Mr.
between here and the mainland. Yeah, what?
Mr. the Boatman,
That's me.
may I remind you that we come from the land of the living, not the land of the ghost. So
Oh, no,
we,
good point.
we do not have the ghost ethereal mail, as you may say, because we do not have the ghost to power it. And yet you call me stupid. You are the one without the common sense.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
I like how you think it is fair that you do not have common sense. You say he has no common sense, and he's like, yeah, fair point. I have no common sense. And I'm like, wow, I could never say that and with a straight face, you know?
Well, it's part of that training. They tell you not to rile up the passengers.
It seems like we could try to push this point a little bit further by trying to see what the limits of this boatman is, if you like.
Oh, look, here they
Or-
are, the gates of the underworld.
It turns out we are too late.
Oh, look, they just turn up.
That must have been the second challenge. Challenging the boatman until he pulls up the gates. We have succeeded.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've seen before that he's more than willing to take a shortcut. So he's taking you off the tourist route, and it's just gone. I should have learned then when they paid me in a magazine that this wasn't going to be a regular trip.
So, if this is the drop-off point, where do we go from here?
Well, you see those massive glowing gates in the middle of the river?
It's kind of hard to miss, yeah.
Yeah, those ones. Basically, I'll just drive right through them, and then it kind of transports you back, and then I just go home.
Well, that's convenient.
So we go into a river in the world of the living, and we are just in the river. Like, what if I cannot swim?
Oh, no, you don't go into a river. Sorry, I've got to change my language to make sure you understand. You go through the gate, right? And you go back to the point at which you died. Like the place
So-
you died in.
So we can die all over again? Like, we are caught in an explosion?
No, you'll see, all right?
Okay.
What will I see?
I don't
That is
want
what I'm
to. I
afraid
don't
of.
want to ruin the surprise. There are so few people who get to go back to the land of the living, right?
Okay, so I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have my sword out, and I'm gonna be ready to jump to the side.
Put it this way, whatever killed you is probably not that big a deal anymore, right?
This is true.
So here I am, just driving you through the gates of the underworld, and you kind of start passing through the gates. If you imagine just a giant archway with light streaming out of it, you can see past the sides of it where the river continues, but through this is just light. As the front of the boat goes through it and you start to all pass through it, the light starts to get brighter and brighter and brighter until it kind of obscures your vision. And then you just hear the boatman go, oh yeah, one thing I should mention.
Did you hear what he was going to say?
No, but that makes it such an adventure, no?
That's true. Yes, it does. I laugh at death at the beginning of this adventure. Why would I not do so now?
It could be a few moments, it could be a lifetime or a death time. But eventually the world kind of comes back into focus. So back in the land of the living, you reappear in the exact same spot you died, in that basement full of charred rat corpses and lots of singed everything.
Hey, but the building is still standing, so we have succeeded. We should be getting paid for this job anyways.
Bartholomew wakes up, panting heavily. Okay, we're back. Oh, okay, Maeve, you're here, and Armando, are you there? Are you alive? Starts shaking.
I am here.
Armando.
I really do not like the smell of a burnt rat hair.
Ugh.
So if it's okay with you, I would like to leave this basement where it is trapping this smell.
Does anyone remember what our contract was? Was it to kill the rats? Did we need to bring the dead rats with us?
No, it was basically just to go down into an old lady's basement and get rid of the rats.
Ah, yes.
It's fairly
my
basic
memory.
stuff.
Yes, I've gotten my memory back now. Yes, but how long has it been?
Good question. The trapdoor to the basement opens and two people walk down the stairs. One of them is the old lady who you now remember was the person who owns the house and is now, technically, you did do the job, but also died in the process of it. She walks down accompanied by Nulasag, you will recognize as leader of the guild. They wander down and she just is talking to him the entire time. She's going, "Oh, if you look over here, I said I wanted them to take care of the rats, but they end up blowing up half my basement. All that rum is just gone now. That was antique stuff, my husband got that in the war, and I've been saving it, and I drink a little bit on the anniversary of his death every year." And Nulasag is kind of just going, yeah. Let's just get this paperwork sorted out.
So, madam, we have gotten rid of the rats. We accomplished the mission. B, your rum, I did try a little bit before we got to the rat extermination, and it was, how do I say this? I would not drink it if it was the last rum left on a deserted island. In fact, I would burn it as a signal for passing ships to not come anywhere near. I am happy to offer my humble services to help you find something better to celebrate your husband's death anniversary.
Weirdly enough, there is absolutely no sign that she heard you.
No.
Nulasag, however, kind of looks around and just says, "Did it just get cold in here, or is it me?"
Wait a minute. They say we could come back to the land of the living, but did they say we would be living? Are we alive? And I'm going to try to pat Nulasag on the head, but like in a very friendly way, like, "Hey, buddy, how are you doing today?"
Your hand goes straight through his head, and he kind of shivers and goes, No, I did not imagine that.
Are there bodies? Is my question.
There are not.
Ugh. We have been kidnapped. Not us, but how did the death person put it? The meat sacks. Now we must go and find them and destroy whoever decided to take my booty, so that way we can get paid. And Bartholomew, how are you handling all of this?
When you mentioned that, Bartholomew shudders at the idea of his body being turned into an undead revenant like what he's fought back at his hometown in Pine Drake, and he shudders at the thought, and then his mind rushes back to Alistar, his horse, and wanting to know if his horse is okay. So he shakes his head. He says, "We need to make it outside. Alistar should be outside. That's what I am most concerned of. But yes, our bodies have been kidnapped. Who knows what they could be doing with us?"
So I know that I signed an agreement a long time ago for my body to be like taxidermied at the Nikamoy Fencing Academy. I am like a symbol, I am not like a rock star, but I am a very accomplished sword fighter. And so I'm like the mascot of the Fencing Academy. So that's probably where they're taking my body, I imagine. But before that, I would like to try something. So I would like to try to dive into a Nulisag's body, knowing that I am like a ghost, right? I want to see if I can possess Nulisag. And then I can ask this old lady question like, "What do you do with the bodies?" Or "Do you know who took the bodies?" Or something like that.
Excellent. Okay, so, see, you laugh, but I did think about this.
Oh, that's actually really good thinking.
How this works, possessing people, is that your will has to be greater than the other person. So it's basically just still a challenge. So Nulasag is not amazingly headstrong as a person and is quite a bit of a pushover.
I would like to say I distracted him too, by putting my hand through his head, and now he like a chivery, you know?
Yeah. So I would say I would roll 2d6 for this. So it's going to be a fairly basic ability to possess.
Okay. So I roll my dice, and I got 2 5s.
2 5s. Okay. Oh, I got a 4 and a 3. So you steel up your will. You kind of envisage? No, that's not another word. Envisage what you want to happen. You want to kind of possess Nulisag's form, and you move your being into his, and your minds kind of connect. He recognizes you and is scared, first of all, confused, second of all, and also still very, very confused and scared. Your will overtakes his, and you can control his body for a short time.
Okay. Number 1, because I like Nulisag. He seemed like a nice guy. I say, hey, relax. But it probably comes out like I'm telling the old lady to relax. So that is a little weird at first.
I
And
am
say,
relaxed.
Oh, sorry.
It's quite rude.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. This has been a very traumatic day for a lot of people.
Why has your accent changed?
I'm trying something new. I have a part in a play, and I'm trying to be a very handsome sword fighter. And so I have to talk like this, because that's the way a handsome sword fighter is going to talk.
You're not that handsome. The sword fighter who was in here earlier, he was handsome.
It's called acting, you know? I feel like I need to really be urgent about this question. Do you know where the bodies went for the people that I sent to take care of your wrath?
Well, I had to call, cats. Fire cats. That was the one. The ones who sent them. I had to call them to come and get the bodies back.
So the fire-breathing kittens?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. You do know that me, Nulisag, is the head of the fire-breathing kittens? Why am I talking to you if you do not know that I am the head of the fire-breathing
Oh, I
kittens?
thought you were the insurance guy.
Well, I do that on the side. That is like my side hustle. And I try not to advertise that too much because I'm trying to run a very important guild and we're recruiting very heavily. And that is taking a lot of my time. Anyway, do you remember the name of the person to whom you were speaking?
No, but they said they would come and take the bodies back to the guild hall, and that they would send some stinky dwarf to come over here to talk to me about insurance.
So, GM, I would like to smell myself. Am I stinky?
Not really.
Okay. So I will say, excuse me, madam, I'm very insulted. I'm not a stinky. I am a dwarf, though. I am very proud of that, but I'm not a stinky. So
It's just their words.
Thank you.
Their words.
Okay, no.
They said you
Okay,
were
that's fine.
stinky.
So what I will do is I will jump out of the body of Nulisag so I can talk to my friends Maeve and Bartholomew and say, did you hear that?
We could hear it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let us, I assume, because we are like ghosts, we can go very fast. So let us rush to the guild hall and find our bodies and jump in immediately. Yem, did I discover any secrets when I was in Nulisag's body, like sharing his mind or whatever?
You don't want to know.
But okay, we talk offline, as you
Yeah.
say. Okay, so let us, no pun intended, but spirit away to the guild hall, and then we can, try to get into our bodies. Because I just jumped into this body, and it was pretty easy.
As luck would have it, you kind of float in an upwardly direction until you get to above ground, where Alistair, your horse Bartholomew, is still just waiting.
I see.
He was not scared of the explosion. That is a well-trained horse.
Yes, and now that I see Alistair is safe, I am actually going to... Well, I look around. Does there seem to be anything trying to bother Alistair?
No, but once you kind of float towards him, he strangely does kind of turn and look at you.
Alistair, do you... Well, you do see me. I'll be damned. Well, Alistair, let's head out. And would I be able to affect the area around me, like unleashing his harness from whatever gate he's tied to and mount him? And just start...
He's not actually tied to anything.
Oh, okay.
In the initial explosion, whatever he was tied to, a little hitching post or whatever, that came loose.
Mhm.
And he would have bolted briefly because, it's a big explosion, but then he would have come back and waited.
All right. Well, Alistair, let's go. Giddy up.
Wait,
And
Bartholomew, is there any room on that horse for Maeve and me?
You can float your way over here. Give you enough time to hitch a ride. It's like getting in a car and starting to drive off, and you guys have to jump in.
You're ghost riding the horse.
Maeve kind of
Yes.
whispers to Armando, this may be the bad time, but I am the boat person, not the horse person. How does one ride the horse?
I think it's going to be like a crash course if you're going to try to learn right now. I just hold on to Bartholomew. He knows what he's doing, and he's a strong man. And so I think he can handle us just hanging on. And plus, we're like ghosts. We don't weigh nothing.
Okay, let's go. And she's gonna dive and jump on the horse.
Yep, you only live once, unless it's twice.
So are we going toward the guild hall on the horse?
That's where I'm heading, yes.
So, Maeve and Armando, you kind of try and, like, not necessarily hop, you kind of float onto Alistair's back, and you grab onto Bartholomew, because as we know, in Ghost World, ghosts can interact with each other. But due to whatever thing exists between Bartholomew and Alistair, he can kind of ride Alistair up to the point of not falling off. So, if you can imagine this white horse just galloping down the road. To anyone else, it would seem that no one's on it at all. But if you were looking in a certain wavelength of light, you would see one ghostly figure and then two other ghostly figures just holding on for dear life as they're flapping around in the breeze as you power your way towards the guild hall. And it's getting down towards about sunset now, we'll call it. And as you get closer, I can't remember offhand whether the guild hall is specifically quite close towards the beach, but let's say it is this week.
It's fairly close to the pier.
Yeah. It moves every so often, doesn't it?
That's true. For narrative purposes, of course.
For narrative, it moves due to the waning narrative tide.
Occasionally, we some guild members may or may not rewrite reality, so things that details don't always turn out.
It is quite a common occurrence, yeah. So let's say this week the guild hall is quite close to the beach, and so Alistair kind of sprints towards the guild hall, and you can see on the beach is arrayed quite a lot of the memberage of the fire-breathing kittens as a small boat is pushed out
Oh, no.
onto the sea. And
Did we institute a funeral pyre? I thought I voted against that last quarterly meeting.
Well, okay, I'll expand that and say also on the beach there is a cart, kind of like a hand cart with a lump and a blanket over the top, and two people in fencing uniforms are standing guard by it. Happy.
That works.
Yeah,
I was going to say, the taxidermists are here.
True. We should probably go investigate the cart and see if we are there. We need to find some bodies, you know?
I am going to go to the boat, the pirate's funeral. That is probably where I am at.
Alistair, wait here. We're heading out to retrieve my body from the boat funeral. Listeners can't see it, but the horse saluted.
Yeah.
That is an extremely well-trained horse. I really must find your secret. That is incredible.
So, Maeve and Bartholomew, we are together going to retrieve our bodies from this what kind of funeral would this be called again?
Like a Viking funeral.
Right.
Or a funeral pyre would probably be more general for the universe this is set in.
That's true. There are no Vikings in this world. No Scandinavia.
Not
or
that
nothing.
we've encountered.
Oh, that's true.
All right.
All right. We head over to our bodies. Hopefully in semi-good condition. I'd hope not to be revived and be in a zombified... Well, we'll see.
I think at worst you will be covered in burns and scars, and you will be in horrible pain. But that is nothing like a cleric cannot take care of or nothing.
Indeed.
Okay, so the boat is kind of getting pushed out, kind of floating in the shallows as they're kind of waiting a bit for the tide to take it. As Bartholomew and Maeve get close, you can see your own bodies. It's a very strange situation. Bartholomew, yours looks quite, I don't want to say cooked, but it's certainly singed. Maeve, you can't really tell the difference.
I forgot. Yeah, it's true.
The lady is on fire, like literally, you know?
So they're kind of there. You've got someone on the beach with a bow and a flaming arrow in a split second about to loose.
Let's put that out.
I'm still on the beach, right?
Yeah.
So I can take care of the arrow and you get into your bodies. If you trust me, which you should, because I'm very honorable.
Yes,
Yes.
I trust you. If worst comes to worst, we get in our bodies, you duck, I grab flaming arrow, cannot catch more on fire.
Not only do I trust you, Armando, I trust you to do it stylish as well.
Oh. Apparently my style precedes me. So yes, I will do that. I will, as a ghost, I will dance on the arrowhead, like on the fire, and using my quick step with my boots, I put out the fire.
Okay, that sounds like one more challenge to me.
If it is possible to use a stress point, I would like to do that.
Yeah, of course. if you've got one to spare, then go for it.
Oh, I only have one to spare.
I'm just going to be rolling 1d6 because, as we know, ghosts are cold, fire is hot, cold cancels out hot, therefore it should be fairly easy to do. Also, beaches are windy.
Okay, so I got a 5 and a 1.
Well, I got a 4.
It is.
Every time you tell me it is a number lower than my number, I like exhale in relief. It is very
That's good.
tense. So yes, the fire is put out on the arrow, and I'm dancing, like, you know, very stylishly, I must say.
I will say, though, that even though the fire has gone out, the arrow still gets loosed, but it will fly gracefully into the air and just land in the bottom of the boat.
That is pretty good. That guy has a good aim. I would like to make a note of this fire-breathing kitten, either member or subsidiary contract guy or whatever. He's had very good aim.
Oh, whose boat did it land in?
Ours.
Yeah, it was a
Oh, we're in
it
the
was,
same
it was
boat.
a funeral boat. Yeah, it was a joint funeral.
Yeah, it is not a very good boat. It is for to be burned, you know?
I imagine I and Maeve are heading over to the boats as this arrow looses and lands in the boat. I turned to Maeve and said, we should break that in half and keep it as a souvenir.
Of course, but I also have one of the best souvenirs, the hat.
Yes, quite.
I really hope the hat it manifests itself in the living.
Who's going to tell her it's a ghost hat?
Oh, no.
She will find out. She will find out.
The ghost hat will live on in spirit, and you will always be able to feel it just kind of above you.
But now you have like a goal.
Bring the hat to life.
Yeah, you need to
Yes.
manifest this hat. You need to find a living hat and put a spirit in the living hat.
Her new goal is to either find a replica hat or hunt down Death and make him give her a real one.
They're both equally attainable, I think. They're much of a muchness, aren't they? New hat, hunt down death. It's about the same.
So silly.
We met Death already. It's like we're practically pen pals.
Yes, did she wake up and see that there's no hat?
Yes, so
In the background, you just hear while Armando's getting into his body, just screams of rage.
screams of rage from the boat and screams of confusion and terror from the beach as the person who's just loosed an arrow at the boat is going, oh no, are they not dead?
And Bartholomew is screaming in pain from waking up with the burns. It's more like, it's less of like loud screaming like when Armando got bit in the butt by a fish, and more pain moans from the burns, but he is at least alive.
I will say that the fish biting my butt was in a spiritual world. So I don't think I have those scars on my body, even though I am burned probably to a crisp because of the explosion. But it is nice to know that I do not have the fish bite on my butt.
Armando, what does it look like when you take control back of your body?
Yeah, I sit up. So I have envisioned this circumstance many times. Like I think if I am ever in a circumstance where I come back to life, what do I say to put people at ease? And this is what it is. I say, oh, what a great sleep that was. And so people, they think I was dead, but it's like, oh, he was asleep. That is not as scary at all. And so I go, oh, like a yawn. And I stretch my arm very slowly, so it's not scary. And I sit up in the cart. And do I know the names of these people that are guarding me? Because if so, I would like to call them by name and say, hey, it's good to see you. Thank you for taking me. I am sorry for having an inappropriate nap, but I was very sleepy.
Yeah, they would have been two representatives from the fencing school who would whisk you away to the taxidermist.
That is good. That is very efficient. That's why I like that school. They are on top of what they need to be on top of. And so I congratulate them and say, I am honored that you would think you would be so ready to put me as a prize collection in the taxidermy wing of the Nikomoy Fencing Academy. Thank you. So I thank them. I shake their hands. And then I say, if you excuse me, I need to get to my friend on that boat. What is my condition of my body? Is it really burned?
I'd say it's nothing that can't be healed.
How are my clothes? Are they like intact or are they in tatters?
Good question. I think the leather would be scorched, but in place. Any fabric would probably be a bit more burnt off.
All right. So what I will do is I will strip it naked. I'll take all of my clothes off and I swim to the boat.
Could I describe what Bartholomew sees? He
of course.
rises up, he sits up, he looks up to the shore, he sees everyone like gasping in surprise, and he sees his horse Alistar standing proudly, and he cracks a smile. He looks down at the arrow that was shot at their funeral boat, and he picks it up and he says, "This will make for a wonderful keepsake." And then he looks up, and in shock, he sees the naked body of Armando swimming towards the boat, and it says, "Oh, he's coming to get us." Good.
And when you say a shocked, you like he is a shockingly good looking, right?
Yeah, yes. Shockingly good.
Of course. I appreciate that. That is, I mean, not that I need that kind of validation from everybody, but it is nice to get every once in a while.
Hey, Maeve is screaming over the hat still and cursing death. She knows nothing else right now.
And that is what I am hearing, and that is why I'm swimming toward you.
We can kind of wrap it up there. Like, as the naked form of Armando swims towards the other boat just to make sure his compatriots are safe, there's quite a bit of confusion on the beach. Everyone there kind of turns to look at a large bipedal elephant who's also stood on the beach. This is Dr. Crud III, and he kind of shrugs and just goes, "Oh, don't look at me. I'm pretty sure they were dead when they when they came across my door. Don't know what y'all looking at me for." And then I think the evening passes with you making your way back to shore. Everyone, I guess, congratulating you for not being dead and like asking what was going on, and also finding Armando some clothes. And
I appreciate it.
Bartholomew, you can tell the story 1,000 times over, and you know you're going to get quite a fat paycheck from when this poem comes out.
Oh, yes.
And he has signed it like 50 times, so like, who knows what's going to happen next time he dies, you know?
And Maeve, you have now, I guess, a long-term goal to either hunt down death or get that hat, whichever's easier. Anyway, that's probably a good place to call it. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Fire Breathing Kittens podcast. As usual, if you fancy leaving us a nice rating and review on whatever podcast platform you happen to be listening on, it would be much appreciated. And of course, if it's nice enough, we will read it out on air. But for now, I think it's time to say goodbye and see you later to Maeve.
Au revoir.
Armando.
I am going to help Maeve find that hat. I owe it to her.
And Bartholomew.
Well, as soon as I get doctored up, I'm going to have to go out shopping for some new clothing. Wonder if a tailor can get me a good regimental coat just like from home.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Have you heard of Invest in Yourself, the podcast series? This is an interview-based podcast for podcasters to share their journey in the world of podcasting and to inspire wannabe podcasters to join the community. Check out Invest in Yourself, the podcast series.